Hey buckaroos and buckarettes, welcome back. This is another in a series of videos on how to use Mathcad, and today we're going to learn about how to solve equations. Now equations are something we use quite a lot obviously, and we can solve them graphically, we can solve them using a solve block, we can use the root command, and I'll show you how to use all of these. They're all pretty easy to use as long as you can define your equations. So let's go to my computer and we'll figure out how to do this.
Okay, here we are in Mathcad, getting ready to solve an equation. We're obviously going to need an equation to solve. So I'm going to put a text comment in here so we know what we're trying to do. There's a couple ways to put text in. I'll start by just using a double quote, which is the shift and double quote on the keyboard. And I'm going to write a note, solve x equal cosine of x. Now, this is just text. This is not an executable command, all right? In fact, if you want to see if it's text, I can actually go in and I can change the font or whatever I want to do over here, and I could change the size and everything else. So that's text, all right? Now, another way to do it is to just start typing. Now, that could be a command or a variable name in Mathcad. All I have to do is hit a space and you'll see it goes from, I don't know, whatever that is, Times New Roman, I guess, to there, Arial. As soon as I hit a space, it knows this can't be an executable command. Executable commands and variable names don't have spaces in them. So another way to do it, like I said, is just start typing, and as soon as you hit a space, it knows what you're typing is text. So anyway, I want to do this. There's a couple of ways to solve that equation. One is to just say, well, the left side I'll call function 1, and the right side I'll call function 2, and I'll just set them equal to each other. So let's do that. This is really simple here. So I said f dot 1. Dot is a text subscript. Okay, it's not a index or anything like that. It's just more text as part of the name of x. I'm going to call that equal to x. So f dot 2, that's subscript 2 of x, and then full colon cosine of x, just like you, it looks like you ought to have it. So what's that going to look like? Now to insert that graph, I went over here and I used the @ sign, just because I happen to remember that from the old DOS days when we didn't have Windows. This is much better, by the way. But you could go in here and just do pull it off the insert menu if you want. So I'll do that. Now I want two functions here. So there's f1, and you can see that little blue underlined thing is highlighting the whole thing. So I'll just hit a comma now. That gives me space for another function. There it is. And there's what I got. You can see it only crosses in one point right there. Well, it'd be nice to zoom in here. And I know this is a positive number. So let's go from 0 to maybe 2. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's maybe add some grid lines. As I said last time, I really don't like those nasty green grid lines, so there's some gray ones. And I'll put this over here, and just because I'm interested in the x values, I'll stretch it out. Well, let's go on a little further. Let's go from 0 to 1, just so we can kind of eyeball the answer. Whoops. Get a pretty good eyeball look at the answer, and there it is. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's got to be around 0.75, 0.76, somewhere around there. All right, so how am I going to do this? Well, there's a couple of ways. The first is to use what's called a solve block. And you start a solve block by typing out the word given, and it turns out you can either use a little g or a big G, it doesn't matter. And then tell Mathcad what condition it is you want to solve for. Well, I want f1 of x to be equal to f2 of x. And to do that, I have to use a specific equal sign. See that right up there, that bold equal? That's a definition. That's one of several different equal signs that live inside of Mathcad. That's the one I want to use. And also you can see up there it's control equal. So I'm going to just do control equal. See that bold equal sign says I'm making a definition here. f2 of x. And so there's several ways to close a solve block. Given always opens them, but I can solve it or close it using I can close the solve block using the find command. Find x. Tell me what that is. And hit equal. Variable is undefined. It didn't work. Well, it turns out that the find command, like lots of numerical commands, needs an initial guess. It needs somewhere to start. Now, it doesn't have any idea where to start. It doesn't know what problem I'm trying to solve, so I'll just give it a starting point of 0. Now, whoops, there, that'll work. Now, it doesn't have to be a very good starting point. It just has to be a starting point. And there it is, 0.739, 0.74. Well, that looks about like the right answer. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to use the root command. All right. Well, if x equals cosine x, then cosine x minus x ought to be 0. So let's do this. X minus cosine x, or I could say f1 of x minus f2 of x. It's the same thing. There we go. And I want to find the root of that. So you say root f of x with respect to x. Now this isn't going to work either for the same reason. There. And I got the same answer. So there, we've just solved an equation in Mathcad using two different methods. The first was a solve block closed by the find command, and the other was when we subtracted the right side from the left side so that the right side was equal to 0, and we used the root function in Mathcad. So there you go. Hope this helps, and we'll talk to you next time.